Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The conference room at Pierce Tech's headquarters in Chicago's Loop glittered under sleek LED lights, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the shimmering Chicago River below. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made your skin prickle. Raven Mitchell stood at the center of the room, her platinum-dyed pixie cut, catching the light, her tailored white blouse and navy trousers sharp against the sea of suits around her. At 31, she was a force Bronzeville-born, fiercely independent, and a cybersecurity genius who'd clawed her way into the fintech world. But right now, every eye in the room was on her, and not in a good way. "You're accusing me." Raven's voice cut through the murmurs, steady but laced with fire. Her dark eyes locked onto Elena Voss, the sleek CEO of rival fintech firm CyberPeak, who stood at the head of the mahogany table with a smug smile. Elena's red dress hugged her frame, her blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon. She was all polish and venom. "Ms. Mitchell," Elena said, her tone dripping with false sympathy. "The evidence is clear. Someone leaked Pierce Tech's blockchain code to my company, and given your access, it's not hard to connect the dots." The room erupted in whispers. Bank executives in crisp suits shifted uncomfortably. Pierce Tech's board members exchanged glances. Nolan Pierce, the company's 38-year-old CEO, stood near the window, his jaw tight, his charcoal suit immaculate. His piercing blue eyes flicked to Raven, but his expression was unreadable. Was it doubt, disappointment? Raven's stomach twisted, but she shoved the feeling down. She wasn't here to beg for trust, not from Nolan, not from anyone. "Evidence." Raven raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "You mean the doctored logs you conveniently found? Let us see how real they are." She pulled her laptop from the table, her fingers flying across the keys. The massive screen behind her flickered to life, displaying lines of code and server logs. The room fell silent save for the soft hum of the air conditioning and the distant honk of Chicago traffic. Below, Raven's heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She'd been underestimated her whole life by teachers who thought a Bronzeville girl couldn't code, by colleagues who mistook her bold style for incompetence. Not today. "Raven, what are you doing?" "Nolan." His voice was low, a warning. He stepped closer, his cologne cedar and spice cutting through the sterile air. She didn't look at him. Couldn't. Not when he was the one who'd brought her into this mess. Into this fake marriage to secure a multi-million-dollar bank contract, only to stand there doubting her. "Saving your company," she shot back, not missing a beat. "Unless you'd rather I sit pretty and let Elena tank us." A few board members stifled chuckles. Elena's smile faltered. Raven's fingers danced, pulling up an encrypted file she'd traced earlier that morning. "Here's the real log," she said, her voice rising. "Someone tried to siphon our blockchain's private keys through a zero-day exploit, but they got sloppy, left a digital fingerprint." The screen flashed, revealing an IP address linked to CyberPeak's servers. Gasps rippled through the room. Elena's face paled, but she recovered quickly, laughing. "This is absurd. You are fabricating evidence to cover your tracks." Am I? Raven's lips curled into a smirk. She hit a final key, and an audio file played a recorded call between Elena and an unknown contact, discussing the leak. "Funny how your voice sounds so clear, Elena." The room exploded. Bank executives shouted questions. Board members scrambled for their phones. Elena's composure cracked her eyes, darting to the exit. "This is a setup," she snapped. But no one was listening. Raven stepped back, her chest heaving, adrenaline coursing through her. She'd done it. She'd saved Pierce Tech, saved the contract, saved her reputation. Nolan stared at her, his expression a mix of shock and something else, admiration. Maybe. How did you do that? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Raven met his gaze, her smirk softening. Learned it in Bronzeville, not your penthouse boardrooms. You might want to take notes. A beat of silence hung between them, charged with unspoken tension. Then Jada Morales, Raven's best friend and Pierce Tech's lead product developer, let out a whoop from the back. That's my girl, told you all she's a badass. The room broke into nervous laughter, the tension easing, but Raven's mind was already racing. How had she ended up here accused of betrayal in a room full of suits? Why was Elena so determined to frame her? And why did Nolan S. doubt sting more than it should? A while back, life had been simpler. Raven was just a cybersecurity freelancer coding in her cozy Bronzeville apartment, surrounded by the smell of her Grandma Gloria as gumbo and the faint hum of jazz from the corner bar. Then Nolan Pierce had stormed into her world, all sharp suits and sharper ambition. Pierce Tech, his fintech startup, was on the verge of landing a game-changing contract with a global bank, one that required a secure blockchain system to process billions in transactions. But the bank, old school and conservative, wanted a CEO with a stable family image. Nolan, a confirmed bachelor with a reputation for ruthlessness, needed a wife. Fast. Enter Raven. Her late father, a respected bank security consultant, had connections. The bank trusted Nolan. S-Team tracked her down, offering a deal. Marry him on paper, play the doting wife at a few events, and walk away with enough cash to fund her dream of a cybersecurity training program for Bronzeville kids. Raven had laughed at first, her a CEO's wife. But the money was real, and so was the chance to stick it to the tech world that doubted her. She'd signed the contract, expecting a straightforward gig. She hadn't expected Nolan arrogant, pragmatic, and annoyingly handsome. He'd sized her up the moment they met, his blue eyes scanning her, platinum hair, her bold hoop earrings, her Bronzeville swagger. "You are not what I pictured," he'd said. His tone clipped, like she was a risky investment. "And you're exactly what I pictured." Raven had fired back, leaning against his office desk. "A suit who thinks he knows everything. Spoiler, you don't." Nolan had smirked, unfazed. "Just sign the papers, show up when I need you, and Don to mess this up." She'd laughed, tossing her hair. "I could hack your entire system with my phone before you finish your coffee." He'd raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it. That was the problem. Nolan saw her as a prop, not a partner. And now, standing in the conference room, Raven wondered if he'd ever see her for who she was. The meeting wrapped up in chaos. Bank executives demanded answers from Elena, who stormed out promising legal action. Nolan called for a recess, his voice calm but strained. Raven slipped out to the hallway, needing air. The loop buzzed below, taxis honking, pedestrians weaving through the evening rush. She leaned against the glass wall, her reflection staring back, fierce, tired, and a little lost. Jada caught up her curly hair, bouncing her grin wide. "Girl, you just dropped a bomb in there." Elena's face. Priceless. Jada, a Latinx coder with a knack for turning tension into laughs, was Raven S. Rock. They'd met at a hackathon years ago, bonding over bad coffee and a shared love of outsmarting smug tech bros. "Priceless but exhausting," Raven said, rubbing her temples. "I shouldn't have to prove myself like that." Jada nudged her. "You proved it to everyone except Mr. CEO. What is with you two? I saw that look he gave you." Raven snorted. "What look? The I might fire her look?" "Nah, the I am low-key impressed but too proud to admit it look." Jada waggled her eyebrows. "Fake marriage turning real." "Huh, I am calling it now." "Jada, please." Raven laughed, but her cheeks warmed. Nolan was infuriating, but there was something about his intensity, the way his gaze lingered a second too long. She shook it off. "I'm here for the contract. not a rom-com. Mm-hmm. Bet you $50 you were smitten by the end of this. Jada pulled out her phone, typing furiously. Just sent you a meme. When your fake husband is too hot to handle. Check it. Raven rolled her eyes, but her phone buzzed. Sure enough, a cheesy meme of a suited guy with hard eyes. She couldn't help but chuckle. You're ridiculous. Love you too, fam. Jada hugged her. Now go home. Get some rest. You're a superhero, but even superheroes need sleep. Home was Bronzeville, a neighborhood pulsing with history and heart. Raven's apartment sat above a corner store, its walls lined with photos of her family, her dad smiling in his old bank ID badge, her grandma Gloria, a civil rights activist with stories that could fill books. The smell of cornbread lingered from dinner, and the faint strains of jazz drifted from the bar down the street. Raven sank onto her couch, her laptop open, her mind replaying the day. She'd saved Pierce Tech, but at what cost? Elena's accusation wasn't a random. Someone had set her up, and Raven had a hunch. It wasn't a just cyber peek. She opened her email, scanning for clues. One message caught her eye, an encrypted file from an anonymous sender, tagged with a single word. Watch. She hesitated, then ran a quick decryption. It was a fragment of code, part of Pierce Tech's blockchain, but altered in a way that screamed sabotage. Someone inside the company was involved. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Nolan. We need to talk tomorrow, 8 a.m. My office. No, thank you. No, great job. Typical Raven, typed a reply. Fine. Don't be late, and hit send. She leaned back, staring at the ceiling. This fake marriage was supposed to be simple. Sign the papers, smile for the cameras, cash the check. But now she was neck-deep in a conspiracy, fighting for her reputation, and against her better judgment, wondering what Nolan really thought of her. Back at Pierce Tech, Nolan stood alone in his office, the city skyline sprawling before him. His desk was cluttered with contracts, but his mind was on Raven. He underestimated her, and it stung. She wasn't T, just a Bronzeville girl with a bold streak. She was a damn genius. The way she'd turned the tables on Elena, cool as ice, had left him speechless. And that smirk, she knew she'd won. He poured a glass of whiskey, swirling it. Raven was troubled not because she was reckless, but because she was right. She'd seen the leak coming when he hadn't. He'd dismissed her, assuming her style. Those hoops, that platinum hair, meant she couldn't keep up. Stupid. His phone lit up with an email from the bank, praising Raven's exceptional skill. He scoffed, but a smile tugged at his lips. Maybe this fake marriage wasn't such a bad deal after all. Raven's apartment was quiet now, the jazz fading as the bar closed. She pulled her grandma's necklace from her pocket, a simple silver chain with a small cross, a gift from Gloria. You raise stronger than they know, Gloria had said when Raven left for college tonight. Raven felt that strength, but also the weight of it. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for every kid in Bronzeville who'd been told they didn't belong in tech. She opened her laptop again, staring at the anonymous code. Whoever sent it wanted her to dig deeper. Fine, she'd play their game, but on her terms. Tomorrow, she'd face Nolan, demand answers, and prove she was more than his paper wife. The contract, the conspiracy, the chemistry, she'd handle it all. Because Raven Mitchell didn't back down. Hey, you made it through Raven's epic takedown. Can she make Nolan see her for who she really is? Will she uncover the traitor in Pierce Tech? Subscribe to catch every twist in the Chicago love and tech saga. Drop a comment. What did you think of Raven's big moment? Who's got your vote, her or Nolan? Let's talk. Raven Mitchell leaned back in her chair, the glow of her laptop screen casting shadows across her corner of Pierce Tech's open-plan office. The looped skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a dazzling maze of steel and glass. But Raven barely noticed her fingers hovered over the keyboard. eyes narrowed at a string of code she'd been dissecting for hours. It was a tiny anomaly in Pierce Tech, this blockchain system, a glitch in the transaction validation process that could, if exploited, unravel the entire platform. She'd flagged it in a report yesterday, but Nolan Pierce, in his infinite CEO wisdom, had dismissed it as not a priority. Typical. The office was quiet now, most of the team gone for the night. The faint hum of servers and the occasional clink of a janitor's cart were the only sounds breaking the silence. Raven rubbed her temples, her platinum hair catching the light. Her hoop earrings swayed as she tilted her head, frustration simmering. Nolan's words from their morning meeting echoed in her mind. Stick to the paperwork. Raven, my team's got this. Paperwork. As if she'd clawed her way from Bronzeville's cracked sidewalks to Silicon Valley's fringes just to shuffle files. She glanced at her phone where a text from Jada Morales lit up the screen. Girl, you still at the office? Nolan Scott, you working overtime for that fake ring? Raven snorted, typing back. Not for the ring, for the truth. This code's shady. Jada's reply was instant shady like Nolan's attitude. Spill the tea tomorrow. Night, fam. Raven smiled, but it faded fast. The truth was, she wasn't just fighting buggy code. She was fighting Nolan's assumptions. His belief that a black woman from Bronzeville with her bold style and no Ivy League degree couldn't match his MIT-trained engineers. And now, after that stunt, Elena Voss pulled in the boardroom, accusing her of leaking code. Raven felt the weight of every eye in the company. Some colleagues whispered support, others, like Malik Turner, shot her sidelong glances, their doubts louder than words. Malik Raven's jaw tightened. The senior security engineer had been icy since she joined Pierce Tech, his ego bruised by her quick rise. She had caught him lingering near her desk earlier, his expression unreadable. Was he just jealous? Or was there more to it? That anonymous email from last night, the one with the tampered blockchain fragment, nagged at her. Someone inside Pierce Tech was playing dirty, and Malik was high on her suspect list. A shadow fell across her desk. Raven looked up to find Nolan standing there, his charcoal suit jacket slung over one shoulder, his tie loosened. His blue eyes, sharp as ever, studied her with an intensity that made her pulse skip. "You're still here," he said, his voice low, almost surprised. "Someone's got to keep your company from imploding," Raven replied, leaning back with a smirk. "Not that you'd notice." Nolan's lips twitched, but he didn't smile. "I noticed yesterday. That move with Elena, impressive." He paused, then added, "But darn to get cocky. We're not out of the woods." Raven raised an eyebrow. "Cocky, that's rich. Coming from the guy who thinks he's Tony Stark without the suit." She gestured to her screen. "I found a glitch in the blockchain. Could be a back door. You gonna listen this time? Or am I wasting my breath?" Nolan crossed his arms, leaning against the desk. His cologne cedar and spice hit her, and she hated how it made her hyper-aware of his proximity. "A glitch," he repeated, skeptical. "My team runs daily audits. If there was a back door, they'd know." "Your team is good, but they're not me." Raven turned her laptop toward him, pointing to a line of code. "This validation loop's off. It's letting unsigned transactions slip through. Someone could siphon funds, and you'd never see it coming." Nolan squinted at the screen, his brow furrowing. For a moment, she thought he might take her seriously. Then he straightened, shaking his head. "It's probably a false positive. I'll have Malik look at it tomorrow. You focus on the bank gala this weekend. We need to sell the Happy Couple Act." Raven's stomach dropped. The gala. Another night of playing Nolan's perfect wife, smiling for stuffy bankers, while he sidelined her real skills. She stood, her chair scraping the floor. "You hired me to secure your system, not to be your arm candy. If you don't trust me, why am I here?" Nolan's eyes darkened, his voice dropping. I trust you to do your part. Dawn to make this harder than it needs to be. Harder, Raven stepped closer, her voice low but fierce. I saved your ass in that boardroom, and you are still treating me like I'm just the girl from Bronzeville. Newsflash, Nolan, I am the best you have got. They stood inches apart, the air crackling. Nolan's gaze flicked to her lips, then back to her eyes, and for a split second, Raven thought he might say something real. Instead, he stepped back, his expression shuddering. Get some rest. Raven, we've got a long week. He walked away, leaving her fuming. She sank back into her chair, muttering, arrogant jerk. But her heart was racing, and not just from anger. There was something about Nolan, his intensity, his rare moments of vulnerability that got under her skin. She shoved the thought away. Focus, the glitch, the email, the traitor. The next evening, Chicago's fintech scene buzzed at a swanky conference in McCormick Place. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the crowd. Tech moguls, bankers, and coders mingling over champagne and canapes. Raven stood near a high-top table, her black jumpsuit hugging her curves, her platinum hair swept to one side. She felt out of place among the designer gowns and tailored tuxes, but she held her head high, her Grandma Gloria's necklace glinting at her throat. Jada sidled up, her red dress vibrant against her brown skin, a glass of Prosecco in hand. You look like you're ready to hack the Pentagon, she teased, nudging Raven. Or maybe just Nolan's heart. Raven rolled her eyes. Jada, I'd rather hack his email. Easier target. Jada laughed, then lowered her voice. Speaking of targets, check out the Queen Bee. She nodded toward Elena Voss, who glided through the crowd in a crimson gown, her smile as sharp as a blade. Elena was chatting with Nolan, her hand brushing his arm. Nolan, to his credit, looked stiff, but he didn't pull away. Raven's stomach twisted, though she'd never admit it was jealousy. She's bold, she muttered. After that boardroom fiasco, she's got nerve. Or a plan, Jada said, sipping her drink. Watch her. She's not done with you. Raven's eyes narrowed. Elena's presence here wasn't random. She was circling, waiting for another chance to strike. Raven's thoughts flashed to the anonymous email, the tampered code. Was Elena working alone, or did she have an inside man before she could dwell on it? Nolan approached, his expression unreadable. Raven, we need to mingle. Bank execs are watching. She plastered on a smile, slipping her arm through his. Lead the way. Husband. The word dripped with sarcasm, but Nolan's hand tightened briefly on hers, sending a jolt through her. They moved through the crowd, Raven playing the doting wife with practiced ease. She laughed at the right moments, complimented a banker's tie, and ignored the curious stares at her hair and earrings. But when a silver-haired exec asked, "How'd you two meet?" Raven couldn't resist. "Oh, it was love at first code," she said, her voice sweet but mischievous. Nolan saw me debug a server and proposed on the spot. Right, babe. Nolan choked on his champagne, his ears reddening. Something like that, he managed, shooting her a look that was half exasperation, half amusement. The exec laughed, charmed, and Raven grinned. Messing with Nolan was almost too easy. But the moment shattered when Elena approached, her smile predatory. Nolan, Raven, what a lovely couple. Her eyes lingered on Raven, cold and calculating. I hope you're enjoying the evening. Ms. Mitchell. No technical difficulties. Raven smiled in a waver. None I can handle. Elena. You should know that by now. Elena's laugh was brittle. We'll see. She glided away, leaving a chill in her wake. Nolan frowned, sensing the undercurrent. "What was that about?" he asked. Raven shrugged, but her mind was racing. Just Elena being Elena. Let's keep moving. Later, back at her apartment, Raven sat cross-legged on her couch, her laptop open. Bronzeville was alive outside her window. Kids laughing, car stereo thumping, the faint clink of bottles from the corner store. She sipped coffee, the mug warm in her hands, and opened the anonymous email again. The tampered code fragment was clever, designed to look like a bug but act like a back door. Whoever wrote it knew Pierce Tech's system inside out. Her phone buzzed. A text from her grandma Gloria. "You okay? Baby. Saw you working late on that computer again." Raven smiled, typing back. "I'm good, Grandma. Just chasing ghosts." Gloria's reply was quick. "You're stronger than any ghost. Don't forget it." Raven touched the necklace at her throat. Gloria's words grounding her. She thought of her Grandma's stories, marches in the 60s fights, for justice in Bronzeville's streets. If Gloria could face that, Raven could face a corporate conspiracy. She dug deeper into the code, cross-referencing server logs. Then she saw it a user ID tied to the tampered fragment. It belonged to Malik Turner. Her heart sank. Malik. She'd suspected him, but seeing proof hurt. Was he working with Elena, or was he just careless? Either way, she needed answers. Tomorrow she'd confront him quietly away from Nolan. His prying eyes. Speaking of Nolan, Raven's thoughts drifted to the gala. The way his hand had lingered on hers, the flicker of amusement in his eyes when she'd teased him. She shook her head. "Focus. Raven, he's your fake husband, not your future." Across town, Malik Turner sat in a dimly lit bar, his phone buzzing with a message from Elena. "Keep your head down," she said, sniffing around. He deleted it, his hands shaking. He hadn't meant to get in this deep. Elena had promised a promotion, a chance to outshine Raven, but now, with the blockchain at risk, he was in over his head. Nolan stood on his penthouse balcony, the Chicago skyline sprawling before him. He sipped whiskey, replaying Raven's words. "I am the best you've got." She was right. Her stunt in the boardroom, her catch of the glitch, he'd been wrong to doubt her. But trusting her meant admitting he'd misjudged her, and Nolan Pierce didn't do apologies. Not easily. His phone pinged with an email from the bank, praising Raven's initiative. He scoffed, but a smile crept in. Raven Mitchell was trouble, but maybe the kind of trouble he needed. Raven closed her laptop, the weight of the day settling in Malik, Elena, Nolan. The pieces were falling into place, but the puzzle was far from complete. She'd signed up for a fake marriage, not a corporate thriller. But if someone was coming for her, they'd learn one thing fast Raven Mitchell didn't break. The Pierce Tech office was a ghost town at midnight, its open-plan floor bathed in the eerie glow of emergency lights. Raven Mitchell sat at her desk, the only sound the soft tap of her fingers on her laptop. Her platinum hair was pulled into a messy bun, her hoop earrings catching the flicker of her screen. She'd been digging into Malik Turner's user ID for hours, cross-referencing server logs and tracing the tampered blockchain fragment from that anonymous email. The evidence was damning. Malik had accessed restricted code, altered it, and covered his tracks poorly. Raven's stomach churned. She'd hoped it was a mistake. But the truth was staring her in the face. Outside Chicago, as loop glittered the river, reflecting the city's restless pulse. Raven sipped cold coffee, her Grandma Gloria's necklace heavy against her collarbone. She thought of Gloria's words, "You are stronger than any ghost." Malik wasn't a ghost, but he was a problem one she'd confront tonight, before he did more damage. The elevator dinged and Malik stepped out, his hoodie pulled low, his eyes darting. Raven had texted him an hour ago, cryptic but firm. "Meet me at the office. Now. We need to talk." She stood, her tailored blazer sharp against her jeans, and crossed her arms. "You're late," she said, her voice steady but edged with steel. Malik froze, his jaw tightening. "What is this about?" "Raven." His tone was defensive, but his hands fidgeted, betraying him. She tilted her head, studying him. Malik was talented. No question, years at Pierce Tech, a knack for encryption, but his ego had always been his Achilles heel. "You tell me," she said, turning her laptop to show the incriminating log. "Your ID's all over this back door. You've been messing with the blockchain." "Malik, why?" His face paled, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he slumped into a chair, running a hand over his buzzed hair. "You don't get it," he muttered. "It's not what you think." "Then explain." Raven leaned against the desk, her dark eyes piercing. "Because right now, it looks like you're selling us out to Elena Voss, and I'm not in the mood for games." Malik's head snapped up, panic flashing in his eyes. "Elena, you think I'd work for her?" He laughed, bitter and hollow. "I may. Not that stupid, but yeah, I screwed up. I tweaked the code. Thought I could impress the board. Show I am better than—" He stopped, his gaze dropping. "Better than me." "Raven," finished her voice quiet but firm. She'd seen it coming. Malik's resentment, his sidelong glares whenever she got praise. "You were so busy trying to outshine me. You opened the door for someone to exploit us. Who's got the code?" "Malik, Elena." "Someone else." He shook his head, his voice breaking. "I don't know. I sent a sample to a recruiter. Okay? Said they had a client who wanted to see my work. I didn't think he buried his face in his hands. They must have passed it to Cyberpeak. I'm sorry. Raven, I didn't mean for this." Raven's chest tightened. Part of her wanted to scream. Malik's jealousy could V-tanked. Pierce Tech ruined the contract, destroyed her reputation. But another part saw the regret in his eyes, the weight of his mistake. She'd been where he was desperate to prove herself in a world that doubted her. "You're an idiot," she said finally, her tone softening. "But you are not the enemy. Help me fix this. Malik, tell me everything, who contacted you, what they wanted. We can still stop this." Malik looked up, surprised by her mercy. You're not turning me in." "Not yet." Raven's lips quirked. "But if you lie to me, I'll lock you out of every system from here to Tokyo. Deal?" He nodded, a ghost of a smile breaking through. "Deal." The next morning, Raven stood outside Pierce Tech's glass tower, the Chicago wind tugging at her leather jacket. She'd spent the night with Malik combing through his emails to trace the recruiter. The trail led to a shell company, likely a front for Elena, but it wasn't enough to nail her. Not yet. Raven's phone buzzed a text from Jida Morales. "You alive? Or did Malik confess to being a supervillain?" Raven chuckled, typing back, "Alive. He's no villain, just dumb. Meet me for coffee." She headed to a cafe in Bronzeville, its windows steamed from the morning rush. The smell of cornbread and espresso hit her like a hug, and the jukebox played a soft jazz tune. Jada was already there, her red sweater bright against the wooden booth, a plate of beignets in front of her. "Spill," Jada said, pushing the plate toward Raven. "What is the deal with Malik?" Raven sank into the seat, grabbing a beignet. "He's jealous, not evil. Thought he could one-up me by showing off to some shady recruiter. Ended up handing Elena a piece of our blockchain." Jada's eyes widened. "Damn, and you didn't strangle him." Tempting. But no. Raven sighed, dusting powdered sugar off her fingers. "He's helping me track the leak. If we can tie it to Elena, we're golden." Jada leaned forward, grinning. "Golden like you and Nolan. I saw you two at the gala, all cozy, Fake marriage getting real, Raven groaned, tossing a napkin at her. You are obsessed. Nolan is still a suit who thinks I'm a half a step above a secretary. Uh-huh. Jada smirked. That's why he couldn't stop staring at your jumpsuit. Bet he's dreaming of you right now. Raven, as cheeks warmed, but she waved it off. He's dreaming of his precious contract. Not me. Still her mind flashed to the gala Nolan, his hand on hers. The way he'd laughed when she teased him. She shook it off. Enough about him. You got anything on Elena? Jada pulled out her phone, scrolling. Not much, but she's been cozying up to the bank execs. Posted a cryptic tweet this morning, big moves in Chicago, stay tuned, shady as hell. Raven frowned. Elena was planning something, and Raven needed to stay one step ahead. She glanced at her watch. I gotta get back. Nolan's probably pacing his office, waiting to lecture me. Jada laughed. Go get him, wifey, and save me some drama for lunch. Back at Pierce Tech. Raven was buried in code when Nolan appeared, his suit crisp, his expression unreadable. You are late, he said, glancing at his watch. We had a meeting at 9. Raven didn't look up, her fingers still typing. And I had a lead to chase. You want results? Or you want me punching a clock? Nolan sighed, pulling up a chair. Results. Always. He paused, his voice softening. You okay? After the boardroom and Malik, she froze, surprised by the concern in his tone. I'm fine, she said, meeting his gaze. His blue eyes were searching, and for a moment, she saw past the CEO armor a flicker of genuine worry. Malik S. not the problem. Someone S. using him. I'm close to figuring out who. Nolan nodded, leaning closer. You are good at this. Better than I gave you credit for. His voice was low, almost intimate, and Raven S.'s pulse quickened. Their hands brushed on the desk, and neither pulled away. The air hummed, charged with something unspoken. Then the server room door beeped, and they jumped apart. Nolan cleared his throat, standing. Keep me posted, he said, his tone back to business. And good work. Raven smirked, hiding her racing heart, noted boss. As he left, her phone pinged with a message from Jada, a meme of a suited guy with heart eyes, captioned, When your fake husband slow key into you. Raven laughed, but her thoughts lingered on Nolan's touch. Damn it. Jada was getting to her. That evening, Raven visited her grandma Gloria in Bronzeville. Gloria's row house smelled of gumbo and history, its walls lined with photos of civil rights marches and family reunions. Gloria, her silver hair in a neat bun, handed Raven a bowl of gumbo, her eyes sharp. You look tired, baby, she said, sitting across from her. This job's weighing on you. Raven stirred her gumbo, the spicy aroma grounding her. It's not just the job. Someone's trying to sabotage the company, and I'm caught in the middle. Plus, Nolan. She trailed off, unsure how to explain. Gloria raised an eyebrow. That husband of yours, he giving you trouble? Fake husband, Raven corrected, smiling. He's complicated. Doesn't trust me, but then he looks at me like... She sighed, like he might. Gloria chuckled, patting her hand. Men like that need time to catch up. You keep being you. Raven, you're a Bronzeville strong. Nobody can take that. Nah. Raven touched her necklace, Gloria's words sinking in. Thanks, Grandma. I needed that. Back at her apartment, Raven opened her laptop. Malik S.'s latest email waiting. He'd found an encrypted file from the recruiter, a recording of a call with Elena, discussing the Mitchell problem. Raven's blood ran cold. Elena wasn't it just after the blockchain she was targeting Raven personally. But why the file was incomplete, a puzzle piece missing. Raven needed more. She leaned back the jazz from the corner bar, drifting through her window. Nolan's words echoed. "You're good at this." Maybe he was starting to see her. Maybe she was starting to see him. But with Elena closing in, trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not yet. Across town, Malik sat in his car, his phone buzzing with another message from Elena. "Fix this or you are done." He deleted it, his heart pounding. He'd told Raven the truth, but not all of it. There was more to the recruiter, more to the plan. He needed to come clean before it was too late. Nolan stood in his office, staring at Raven's report on the glitch. She'd been right again. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with admiration. Raven was unraveling his world, and he wasn't sure he minded. Rain streaked down the glass walls of Pierce Tech's headquarters, blurring the Chicago skyline into a haze of neon and shadow. Raven Mitchell stood in the hallway outside Nolan Pierce's office, her leather jacket damp, her platinum hair clinging to her forehead. Her heart pounded not from the storm outside, but from the storm inside. She'd just walked out of a boardroom where Elena Voss had dropped a bombshell evidence that Raven was the mastermind behind the blockchain leak, a forged email, a doctored server log, a fake payment trail, all pointing to her. The bank executives were livid. The board was in chaos, and Nolan had looked at her with doubt in his eyes. Raven clenched her fists, her Grandma Glorious necklace cold against her skin. She'd fought too hard through Bronzeville, as struggles through tech as gatekeepers to let Elena win. But Nolan's hesitation stung worse than the accusation. She'd thought he was starting to trust her, to see her clearly. She'd been wrong. The office door opened, and Nolan stepped out. His charcoal suit rumpled, his tie gone. His blue eyes were stormy, his jaw tight. "Raven," he said, his voice low. "We need to talk." She crossed her arms, rain dripping from her jacket onto the polished floor. "Talk? You mean lecture? Or are you here to fire me, since you clearly think I'm a traitor?" Nolan flinched. But he didn't back down. "I don't think that. But the evidence, it's convincing. The bank's threatening to pull the contract. The board wants answers." Convincing Raven's voice rose, sharp and raw. "You saw me take down Elena in that boardroom. You know I saved this company. And you are still standing there, doubting me." "I am not." Nolan ran a hand through his hair, frustration etching his face. "Raven, I am trying to protect Pierce Tech. I need to be sure." "Sure." She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "I gave you everything, Nolan. My skills, my time, my damn reputation. I played your fake wife, smiled for your bankers, and fixed your broken code. And you can even give me the benefit of the doubt." The air crackled between them, heavy with unspoken words. Nolan's gaze softened, but only for a moment. "I want to believe you," he said quietly, "but I need time to sort this out." "Time?" Raven laughed, bitter and hollow. "I don't have time to wait for you to decide if I'm worth trusting." She turned, her boots echoing on the floor. "I am done, Nolan. Find yourself another prop." "Raven, wait." His voice followed her, but she didn't stop. She stormed into the elevator, the doors closing on his pleading face. As the car descended, her chest tightened, tears burning her eyes. She wouldn't cry. Not here. Not for him. The news hit like a tidal wave. By morning, Elena Voss was on every tech blog, her press conference streaming live from a sleek CyberPeak office. "Pierce Tech's negligence is unacceptable," she said, her crimson lipstick stark against her pale skin. "Raven Mitchell, their so-called cybersecurity expert, has been leaking sensitive data. We have proof." She held up a tablet, displaying the forged email, a message from Raven to an anonymous account, promising blockchain keys for cash. Raven watched the stream from her Bronzeville apartment, her laptop balanced on her knees. The room smelled of coffee and rain, The jazz from the corner bar muted by the storm outside. Jada Morales sat cross-legged on the couch, her face a mix of fury and worry. "This is bull," Jada said, tossing a pillow. Elena S. playing dirty, and Nolan S. eating it up. "He's not eating it up," Raven said, her voice flat. "He's just not choosing me." She closed her laptop, the weight of the day settling in. "I thought he saw me. Jada. Not just the Bronzeville girl, but me." Jada slid closer, squeezing her shoulder. "He's an idiot, but he's not blind. He's into you. Raven, he's just too stubborn to admit it." Raven snorted, but her heart wasn't in it. "Doesn't matter now. The bank's probably shredding the contract, and my name's trashed." Elena won. "Not yet." Jada pulled out her phone, scrolling. "Malik sent me something. Said he found a lead on that encrypted file you pulled from the recruiter. It's partial, but it might tie Elena to the setup." Raven's eyes lit up, a spark of hope cutting through the fog. "Show me." Jada handed over her phone, displaying a grainy audio clip. It was Elena S., voice clipped and cold. "Mitchell has a problem. Make sure she takes the fall." The file cut off abruptly. Not enough to convict, but enough to prove Raven was a target. "Malik is still digging," Jada said. "He feels like crap for what he did. Wants to make it right." Raven nodded, her mind racing. Malik's betrayal had hurt, but his regret was real. If they could crack the full file, they might expose Elena. "Tell him to keep looking," she said. "I'm not giving up." Jada grinned, pulling her into a hug. "That's my girl. Now, let's get some food. You can save the world on an empty stomach." Raven laughed, the sound lighter than she felt. "Deal. But you are buying." "Oh, come on," Jada groaned, but her eyes twinkled. "Fine. But only if you admit Nolan's got you a little smitten." Raven tossed a pillow at her. "Keep dreaming, Morales." The next day, Raven walked through Bronzeville, the rain replaced by a crisp autumn breeze. Kids played basketball on a cracked court, their laughter mixing with the hum of a passing bus. She stopped at a mural on 47th Street, a vibrant tribute to Bronzevilla's history with portraits of jazz legends and activists. Her grandma Gloria S. face was there, painted in bold strokes, her eyes fierce and kind. Raven touched the mural, grounding herself. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for every kid here who deserved a shot. Her phone buzzed a text from Malik. "Found another piece of the file. It's encrypted. But I am close. Meet me tonight," Raven replied. 8 p.m. "My place. Dawn to be late." She pocketed her phone, determination settling in. Elena thought she could break her. Big mistake. That evening, Pierce Tech S stock plummeted headlines screaming about the Mitchell scandal. Nolan stood in his office, the city skyline dark beyond the windows. His desk was buried in reports, but his eyes were on a photo from the gala Raven in her black jumpsuit, smirking as she teased him. He'd laughed that night, a real laugh, something she pulled out of him without trying. Now, he'd pushed her away. His phone rang, his CFO, frantic. "Nolan, the bank's giving us 48 hours to clear this up, or the contract's dead. The board wants Raven gone." Nolan's grip tightened on the phone. "She's not the leak, I know it." "Then prove it," the CFO snapped. "Because right now, she's toxic." Nolan hung up, his mind churning. Raven had been right about the glitch, about Malik, about everything. He'd let his pride and the board's pressure cloud his judgment. He needed to fix this. But first, he needed Raven. At her apartment, Raven paced her laptop open to the partial audio file. Malik arrived, his hoodie damp from the drizzle, his expression grim. "I cracked part of the encryption," he said, handing her a USB drive. "It's not the full call, but it's enough to show Elena's been planning this for a while." Raven plugged in the drive, her heart racing. The audio played Elena's voice again. Colder. Mitchell S. Too good. Frame her, or we lose the bank. The file cut off, leaving Raven with more questions than answers. This proves she S after me, she said, but it's not enough to clear my name. We need the whole thing. Malik nodded, guilt etched on his face. I'm trying, Raven. I messed up bad. Let me make it right. She studied him, then nodded. You're getting there. Keep digging. As Malik left, Raven sank onto her couch, the jazz from the bar below drifting up. She thought of Nolan, his doubt, his fleeting moments of warmth. She'd walked away, but part of her wanted to run back, to make him see her. She shook her head. Focus. The audio was a start, but Elena was still out there, and the clock was ticking. Across town, Elena sat in her office, her tablet glowing with news of Pierce Tech's collapse. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Raven was down, but not out. Elena needed one final blow to seal the deal. She typed a message to her contact. Push the next phase. Now. Nolan stood outside Raven's apartment, the Bronzeville street alive with music and light. He clutched a folder, her report on the glitch annotated with his notes. He'd been wrong, and he needed to say it. But as he raised his hand to knock, his phone buzzed. Message from the bank. Prove Mitchell S. innocence by tomorrow, or the contract is void. He hesitated, then turned away. Words weren't enough. He needed proof. Raven stared at her laptop. The audio file looping Elena's voice was a taunt, a reminder of everything at stake. She wasn't just fighting for Pierce Tech, but for her name, her community, her future. She'd find the truth, with or without Nolan. But as she worked, a small part of her wondered, would he ever choose her? The rain had stopped, leaving Bronzeville's streets slick and shimmering under the streetlights. Raven Mitchell stood at her apartment window, the faint hum of jazz from the corner bar weaving through the night. Her laptop glowed on the coffee table, displaying the partial audio file. Malik Turner had sent a damning snippet of Elena Voss plotting to frame her. It was a start, but not enough to clear her name. Raven's fingers traced her Grandma Gloria's necklace, the silver cross cool against her skin. She'd walked away from Pierce Tech, from Nolan, but the fight wasn't over. Not yet. Her phone buzzed a text from Jada Morales. Malika's got something big. Check your email. Also you. Okay? Raven smiled faintly, typing back, hanging in there. Thanks, fam. She opened her email, finding a new message from Malik with an attached file. Cracked the full audio. Listen to this. Her heart raced as she plugged in her earbuds and hit play. Elena's voice filled her ears, cold and precise. Mitchell is too good. Frame her, or we lose the bank. Use the forged email and the payment trail. She'll crack under pressure. The call ended with a male voice, unfamiliar. Clipped. It's done. But if she digs deeper, we re-exposed. Raven's breath caught. This was it, the proof she needed to bury Elena and clear her name. But the mystery man's voice nagged at her. Who was he? A Cyberpeak exec. Someone closer. She forwarded the file to Jada with a note. Send this to Nolan. Tell him it's from me. I'm not going back, but he needs to know. She hit send, then leaned back. Exhaustion and resolve warring inside her. She'd given Nolan the truth. What he did with it was his choice. A knock at the door startled her. She glanced at the clock. 10 p.m. Who was out this late? She grabbed a baseball bat from the corner. Bronzeville habits died hard and crept to the door. Peering through the peephole, her heart skipped. Nolan Pierce stood there, his suit jacket soaked, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. He held a folder, his expression a mix of determination and guilt. Raven opened the door. Bat still in hand. "You lost." "Pierce," she asked, her voice cool. "Penthouse is downtown, not Bronzeville." Nolan's lips twitched, but his eyes were serious. "Can I come in? I owe you an apology." She raised an eyebrow, lowering the bat, but not her guard. "You owe me more than that. But fine." She stepped aside, letting him in. The apartment smelled of coffee and candles, its walls alive with family photos and vibrant art. Nolan looked out of place, his polished shoes stark against the worn hardwood. He set the folder on her coffee table, his voice low. "I was wrong, Raven. About you, about the leak, about everything I let the board's pressure get to me. And I doubted you when I shouldn't have." He met her gaze, unflinching. "You're not just the best I've got. You're the best, period." Raven crossed her arms, her heart thudding. "Words are cheap. Nolan, you stood there while Elena trashed me. Why should I trust you now?" "Because I am here," he said, stepping closer. "Because I read your report on the glitch and you were right. Because I am holding proof you innocent." He opened the folder, revealing her annotated report, cross-referenced with server logs. "And because I brought this," he pulled a book from his jacket, a worn copy of Black Innovators in Tech, its cover dog-eared. "I thought maybe a D means something to you." Raven's breath caught. The gesture was small, but it hit deep. She took the book, her fingers brushing his. "You are learning," she said, her voice softer. "But trust isn't a gift. Nolan, you earn it." "Then let me start." He stepped closer, his voice earnest. "I need you, Raven, not just for the contract, but for this." He gestured vaguely, but his eyes said more, something raw, unguarded. The air hummed, charged with possibility. Raven held his gaze, her resolve wavering. "You've got one shot," she said finally. "Dawn to blow it." The next evening, Raven and Nolan sat in a suite at a sleek hotel overlooking Lake Michigan, the city's skyline sparkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows. They were prepping for the final bank meeting tomorrow, where they'd present the audio file and expose Elena Raven wore, a red dress that hugged her curves, her platinum hair swept to one side, her confidence back in full force. Nolan, in a tailored navy suit, couldn't have stopped stealing glances, his usual composure fraying. They sat at a glass table, laptops open, the audio file looping. "This ties Elena to the frame job," Raven said, pointing to her screen. "But the mystery guy's voice, I can't place it. He's the key to the bigger picture." Nolan nodded, his brow furrowed. "Could be an inside job. Someone at the bank. Maybe. We'll need to tread carefully tomorrow." Raven smirked, leaning back. "Careful's not my style. I am more go big or go home." He chuckled, the sound warm and rare. "I'm starting to get that." His gaze lingered, softening. "You look incredible tonight." Raven's cheeks warmed, but she held his stare, her voice teasing. "Careful." "Pierce, you're sounding like a real husband." "Maybe I'm getting used to it," he said, his voice low. He stood, crossing to her side of the table, his hand brushing hers. The touch sent a jolt through her, and she didn't pull away. The room felt smaller, the air thick with unspoken desire. "Nolan," she started. But he was already closer, his breath warm against her cheek. "You sure about this?" she whispered, her heart racing. "Never been surer," he murmured, his lips grazing hers. The kiss was slow at first, tentative, then deepened a rush of heat and need. Raven's hands found his chest, gripping his shirt as she pulled him closer. They stumbled to the sofa, her dress riding up, his jacket hitting the floor. The city lights bathed them in a soft glow, their breaths mingling as they sank into each other. Raven broke the kiss, her voice husky. "You think you can keep up with me, Pierce?" He grinned, his hands on her waist. "I am trying, Mitchell, and I'm not stopping." The moment was electric, a culmination of tension and trust. But as they caught their breath, Raven's phone buzzed, shattering the haze. Text from Jada: Emergency. Elena S. meeting with the bank tonight. Get to the Drake Hotel now. Raven's stomach dropped. She's making her move. She said, standing, "We need to go." Nolan nodded, his expression hardening. "Let's end this." The Drake Hotel's lobby was a vision of old Chicago glamour. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the murmur of wealth. Raven and Nolan slipped. In blending with the evening crowd, Raven wore her red dress, Nolan his suit, their urgency masked by calm facades. Jada met them near the bar, her black jumpsuit sleek, her eyes wide. Elena S. in a private room with the bank execs. She whispered, "She's pitching CyberPeak as Pierce Tech's replacement." Raven's jaw tightened. "She's trying to seal the deal before we can expose her. We need to crash that party." Nolan hesitated. "If we barge in without the full proof, we risk losing the bank for good. Then we get creative," Raven said, her mind racing. She pulled out her phone, syncing with Jada's laptop. "I can hack the room AV system. Play the audio for everyone." "But I need a distraction." Jada grinned. "Leave that to me." She sauntered toward the bar, accidentally knocking over a tray of glasses. The crash drew every eye, giving Raven and Nolan a window to slip toward the private room inside. Elena's voice echoed through the door, smooth and confident. Raven crouched, her phone linked to the AV controls. "Almost there," she muttered, her fingers flying. Nolan stood guard, his presence steadying her. The audio file blared through the room, his speakers. "Frame her, or we lose the bank." Gasps followed. Then Elena's panicked voice. "Turn that off." Raven stood, her smirk triumphant. "Show's over." "Boss." Back at the hotel suite, Raven and Nolan collapsed onto the sofa, adrenaline still pumping. The bank execs had been stunned, promising to review the evidence. Elena had fled, her reputation in tatters, but the mystery man's voice lingered. A loose end Raven couldn't shake. Nolan poured 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to Raven. "You were brilliant tonight," he said, his voice warm. "I don't deserve you." She clinked her glass against his, her eyes playful. "You're right, but you're growing on me." He laughed, pulling her close. "Good. Because I'm not letting you go." Raven leaned into him, the city lights dancing outside. They'd won a battle, but the war wasn't over. Elena was down, but someone else was out there, pulling strings. Tomorrow, they'd face the bank, armed with the truth. For now, she let herself savor the moment. Nolan's warmth, the promise of trust. The fight still ahead, across town. Elena stared at her phone, a new message glowing. "You failed, but we are not done. Mitchell is next." She deleted it, her hands shaking. The game was far from over. The conference room at the bank, as Chicago headquarters, buzzed with anticipation, its sleek design a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside. Rain lashed the floor-to-ceiling windows. But inside, Raven Mitchell stood tall, her platinum hair gleaming under the LED lights, her red blazer sharp against her black trousers. Her grandma Gloria's necklace glinted at her throat, a reminder of where she'd come from. Bronzeville's heart forged in resilience. Today, she wasn't just fighting for Pierce Tech's contract. She was fighting for her name, her community, and the man standing beside her, Nolan Pierce. Nolan, in a tailored navy suit, exuded calm. but his hand brushed Raven's as they faced the bank executives. The room was packed. Board members, tech reporters, and a few curious onlookers, all waiting to see if Pierce Tech could salvage the multi-million-dollar deal after Elena Voss's accusations. Raven's pulse raced, but her voice was steady as she stepped to the podium. Her laptop synced to the massive screen behind her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her eyes scanning the crowd. "You've heard the lies. Elena Voss tried to frame me as a traitor, to sabotage Pierce Tech's blockchain system. Today, we're setting the record straight." She hit a key, and the audio file Elena's damning confession blared through the speakers. "Frame her or we lose the bank." Gasps rippled through the room. Raven let the clip play, her gaze locking on a bank exec in the front row, his face paling. "This is no glitch," she continued. "It's proof of a deliberate attack by Cyberpeak to undermine us. And we stopped it." The screen shifted to a live demo of Pierce Tech's blockchain, its transactions flowing seamlessly. Raven's voice grew stronger. "Our system isn't just code. It's trust, security, and a future where every community has a seat at the table. That's what we're rebuilding." The room erupted in applause, but Raven wasn't done. She glanced at Nolan, a silent signal. He stepped forward, his voice clear and commanding. "Raven Mitchell, isn't he? Just our cybersecurity lead. She's the heart of Pierce Tech. I was wrong to doubt her, and I'm not too proud to admit it." He turned to her, his blue eyes soft. "She's the reason we're here, and I'm honored to stand with her." The crowd cheered louder, but Raven's chest tightened. Nolan's words weren't just for the room, they were for her. She smiled, a mix of pride and warmth, and took his hand. "We're a team," she said simply, "and we were just getting started." The bank's CEO, a silver-haired woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, stood. "Ms. Mitchell, Mr. Pierce, you've made your case. The contract is yours. Congratulations." The room exploded. Reporters scrambling for quotes. Board members shaking hands. Raven and Nolan exchanged a look. Their fingers still entwined. They'd done it. The contract was secure. Elena was exposed, and Pierce Tech was back on top. But as the crowd surged around them, Raven's mind lingered on the mystery man's voice from the audio. Someone was still out there, watching. Later that evening, Raven stood on the balcony of their hotel suite, Lake Michigan, stretching before her, its waves silver under the moonlight. The city skyline glittered, a testament to Chicago's grit and glamour. She wore a sleek black dress, her platinum hair loose, her necklace catching the light. Nolan joined her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar, his smile soft. "To us," he said, clinking his glass against hers. "And to you, Raven. You were unstoppable today." She sipped, the bubbles sharp and sweet. "We were unstoppable. You didn't do half bad yourself, Pierce." He laughed, the sound warm and unguarded. "I'm learning. From you." He set his glass down, stepping closer. "I meant what I said in there. You are everything, Raven, and I'm all in for real, not just on paper." Her heart skipped, but she kept her tone playful. "All in, huh? You ready for a Bronzeville girl to run your world?" "More than ready," he murmured, his hand cupping her cheek. The kiss was slow, deep, a promise sealed against the city's hum. Raven melted into him, her hands on his chest, the world fading to just them. When they pulled apart, she grinned, breathless. "You're signing a lifetime contract, you know," she teased. "No refunds." "Good," he said, his eyes locked on hers, "because I'm keeping you forever." They stood there wrapped in each other, the lake's breeze cool against their skin. Raven felt whole, not just as Nolan's partner, but as herself. A woman who'd fought and won. Yet a small voice nagged at her. The mystery man. The loose end. She pushed it down. Tonight was theirs. The next week, Bronzeville buzzed with excitement. Raven stood on a makeshift stage in a community center. The room packed with teens, parents, and local leaders' banners proclaimed the Mitchell Cybersecurity Academy, her dream come to life, a program to train black youth in tech funded by Pierce Tech's profits. Gloria, her grandma, sat in the front row, her silver hair gleaming, her smile radiant. Jada Morales was there too, snapping photos, her red sweater a burst of color. Raven took the mic, her voice steady. "This isn't just about code," she said, her eyes sweeping the crowd. "It's about power, about taking our place in a world that's tried to shut us out. You're the future, and I'm here to help you build it." A shy teen in the back raised his hand. "Ms. Mitchell, I don't know if I'm good enough for tech." Raven smiled, stepping closer. "I was you once, thinking I didn't belong, but you're more than good enough. You're needed. Start small. Keep learning, and you'll surprise yourself." "I did." The boy nodded, his eyes bright. Gloria clapped, her pride palpable, and the room followed. A wave of hope. Raven's chest swelled. This was her legacy, bigger than any contract. After, Gloria pulled her into a hug. "Your daddy would be so proud," she whispered. "You're changing the game, baby." Raven's eyes stung. "Couldn't have done it without you." "Grandma," Jada bounded over, grinning. "Okay. But can we talk about how you and Nolan were basically a rom-com up there when it's the real wedding?" Raven laughed, nudging her. "Slow down, Morales. We are taking our time." "Uh-huh," Jada teased. "I'm planning the bachelorette party already." That night, Raven and Nolan sat in their suite, the city sprawling below. They were reviewing the Academy-S launch photos, laughing at Jada's goofy poses. Nolan's arm was around Raven, his warmth grounding her. "You did good today," he said, kissing her temple. "Those kids are lucky to have you." "We're lucky to have them," she corrected, leaning into him. "And you are not bad as a co-conspirator." He chuckled, but his expression turned serious. "I'm also starting a diversity fund at Pierce Tech. More voices, more ideas. It's overdue." Raven's heart swelled. "Now you're talking my language." They clinked glasses, the future bright. But as Raven reached for her laptop, an email popped up. No sender. "Just a subject, you won this round." Her pulse quickened. She opened it, finding a single line. "The game's not over. Mitchell, watch your back." Nolan frowned, reading over her shoulder. "What the hell is this?" Raven's jaw tightened. A reminder. Someone is still out there. She closed the laptop, her resolve hardening. But they don't know who they were messing with. Nolan took her hand, his grip firm. "We'll face it together. Whoever it is, they are no match for us." She nodded, her smile fierce. "Damn right." They stood, stepping back to the balcony. The lake shimmered, the city alive with possibility. Raven leaned against Nolan, her heart full. They'd won love, trust, a legacy, but the fight wasn't over, and she was ready. Across town, a figure sat in a dimly lit office, a burner phone in hand. The message to Raven had been sent. A seed of doubt planted. They dialed a number, their voice low. "She's stronger than we thought. We need a new plan." The line crackled. Then a familiar voice replied, "Elena Voss," her tone icy. Then we hit harder. "This isn't over." Raven and Nolan sealed the deal and their love, but a new threat looms. What is next for our power couple? Will Raven uncover the mastermind? Subscribe to catch the next chapter of this thrilling saga. Comment. What was your favorite moment? Raven's speech, Nolan's apology, or that cryptic email? Who is behind it? Let's hear your theories.